2026 is coming, whether you're ready or not. And when it arrives, it won't ask about your excuses, your intentions, or your dreams. It will only expose what you prepared for and punish what you ignored. If you enter 2026 without a plan, you will regret it. Not because the year is cruel, but because time is honest. Time doesn't reward intention. Time doesn't respond to hope. Time only reveals preparation. Every year shows up with the same 365 days, but the results people get are wildly different. Why? Because some people use time as a tool and others let time use them. Most people think a new year magically changes their life. It doesn't. A new year only magnifies who you already are. If you were disorganized, unfocused, and reactive in 2025, 2026 won't fix that. It will expose it. Time is neutral. Direction is everything. If you don't decide where you're going, you will end up somewhere, and you probably won't like the address. Here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Your income, your results, and your lifestyle are not determined by how hard you work. They are determined by who you become. Income follows identity. If you don't upgrade your thinking, your skills, and your standards, you work harder and still stay stuck. The marketplace doesn't pay for effort. It pays for value, and value increases when you do. Clarity is the separator. Confused people stay busy. Clear people make progress. If you don't clearly decide what you want from 2026, financially, mentally, spiritually, physically, life will decide for you. And life's default setting is average. You don't drift into excellence, you drift into mediocrity. Excellence is chosen, planned, built. Most people say they're waiting for motivation. That's why they lose. Motivation is emotional. Systems are logical. Winners don't feel their way into success. They systemize their way there. They build routines that work even on bad days. They don't ask, do I feel like it? They ask, what does the system require today? If your plan for 2026 depends on motivation, you don't have a plan. You have a wish. And understand this, effort alone is no longer enough. The future belongs to people who understand leverage. Leverage of skills, leverage of technology, leverage of capital, leverage of people. 1 hour with leverage can outperform 10 hours without it. If you don't plan to build leverage in 2026, you will stay trapped trading time for money. And time is the one thing you can never get back. The greatest cost you will ever pay is not failure, it's regret. Regret is expensive. Regret whispers you knew better. The discipline of planning feels uncomfortable now, but the pain of regret lasts for years. At the end of 2026, you will either say, I'm proud I prepared, or I wish I had started sooner. Those are the only two outcomes. So don't enter 2026 hoping things change. Enter 2026 deciding that you will change. Decide who you're becoming. Decide what systems you're building. Decide what you're no longer tolerating, because the year doesn't change lives. People do. And the question isn't whether 2026 is coming. It's coming. The real question is this: when it arrives, will it work for you or will it expose you? The choice is yours. Time is neutral. It has no bias, no emotion, no preference for who wins and who loses. It doesn't care about your background, your struggles, your age, or your intentions. Time gives the same 24 hours to the focused and the distracted, to the disciplined and the lazy, to the prepared and the hopeful. The difference in results is never time itself. It is direction. Direction is what gives time meaning. Without direction, time doesn't build, it erodes. It doesn't create progress. It creates distance between where you are and where you could have been. Most people believe time will fix their problems. They say things like, give it time, or next year will be better. But time doesn't heal confusion. Time doesn't reward procrastination. Time doesn't turn dreams into reality. Time only multiplies whatever direction you're already moving in. If you're moving with purpose, time compounds your progress. If you're moving without clarity, time compounds your regret. Time is a magnifier, not a savior. Look at how many people are busy every day yet stuck every year. They wake up early, stay up late, move constantly, and still go nowhere. Why? Because motion without direction is just exhaustion. You can run fast in the wrong direction and still end up lost. Effort is powerful, but direction determines whether that effort builds a future or burns you out. When direction is missing, time becomes a silent thief, stealing days while giving the illusion of movement. Direction begins with decisions, clear decisions about who you are becoming, what you are building, and what you are no longer tolerating. When direction is clear, time starts working for you instead of against you. Every hour becomes intentional. Every action has alignment. Even small steps begin to matter because they are pointed somewhere meaningful. Direction turns ordinary days into building blocks instead of placeholders. Without direction, distractions become dominant. You respond instead of led. You react instead of create. Other people's priorities start shaping your schedule, and before you realize it, years pass and your life looks nothing like what you imagined. That's not bad luck. That's unmanaged direction. When you don't choose a direction, life chooses one for you, and it always chooses the path of least resistance. Direction also creates momentum. When you know where you're going, obstacles don't stop you, they inform you. Failure doesn't break you, it adjusts you. Time stops feeling like pressure and starts feeling like partnership. You understand that consistency over time beats intensity in moments. You stop chasing quick wins and start building lasting results. Direction gives time a job, and when time has a job, it pays compound interest. The tragedy is not that people lack time. The tragedy is that they waste years moving without aim. Time never betrays you. It only tells the truth. At the end of every year, time reveals exactly what your direction was. Not what you hoped for, not what you talked about, but what you consistently move toward. And that truth can either empower you or haunt you. When you give time direction, it becomes your greatest ally. When you don't, it becomes your greatest witness. Time will always keep moving. The only question is whether it's moving you closer to your purpose or further away from your potential. Income does not follow hustle. It follows identity. You can work longer hours, sacrifice sleep, and stay busy every day, yet still struggle financially. Hustle without identity growth is just movement without elevation. The world does not reward how tired you are. It rewards how valuable you have own. Your income is a reflection of who you believe you are, how you think, what you tolerate, and the level of problems you are capable of solving. Most people are trapped in the belief that if they just work harder, things will eventually change. But effort alone doesn't create breakthroughs. There are people working 12 hours a day who are still broke, and people working 3 focused hours who are wealthy. The difference isn't effort, it's perspective, skill, and self-concept. Your identity sets the ceiling for what you think you deserve and what you believe is possible for you. You will never consistently earn more than the person you see yourself as. Identity shapes behavior. Behavior shapes results. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, you will subconsciously make decisions that keep you struggling. If you see yourself as someone who creates value, you will look for opportunities, invest in growth, and make long-term choices. Hustle can temporarily increase income, but identity determines sustainability. When hustle stops, so do the results, unless identity has been upgraded. The marketplace does not pay for effort, it pays for results. And results come from skills, thinking, and execution. When your identity shifts, you stop asking, how hard do I need to work? And start asking, how can I increase my value? That question changes everything. You begin to invest in learning and mastering high leverage skills, in understanding people, systems, and money. You stop chasing quick cash and start building income that reflects who you've become. Many people secretly fear success because it would require them to become someone unfamiliar. Growth demands a new identity, and identity change is uncomfortable. That's why people return to hustle. It feels safe, it feels honorable, but hustle is often a disguise for a lack of strategy. The hardest work is not physical effort, it's mental transformation. It's letting go of old labels, old limits, and old stories about who you are. When identity expands, standards rise. You stop tolerating low-paying environments, unproductive habits, and small thinking. You stop negotiating with procrastination and fear. You move differently because you see yourself differently. And when you move differently, people respond differently. Opportunities begin to find you, not because of luck, but because your identity now aligns with higher level problems and solutions. Income is simply feedback. It tells you how the world currently values the version of you that shows up every day. If you want a different number, you don't just need more hours, you need a new level of thinking, skill, and self-image. Hustle can get you started, but identity is what takes you further. When you become more, you earn more. Not accidentally, inevitably. Clarity eliminates confusion because confusion is not a lack of intelligence, it is a lack of decision. Most people are not stuck because they are incapable, they are stuck because they are undecided. When the mind has no clear target, it wanders. When life has no clear direction, energy gets scattered. Confusion drains momentum, focus, and confidence, not because the path is hard, but because the destination is unclear. A confused person is often busy but rarely effective. They start many things and finish very few. They react instead of initiate. They consume information without applying it. This creates mental noise, too many options, too many opinions, too many half-formed ideas. Without clarity, even simple decisions feel heavy. You hesitate, overthink, and second-guess yourself, not because you lack ability, but because you haven't committed to a clear outcome. Clarity begins when you decide what matters and what does not. The moment you define a clear goal, distractions lose their power. Not everything deserves your attention, your time, or your energy. When clarity is missing, everything feels urgent. When clarity is present, priorities organize themselves. You stop chasing every opportunity and start selecting the right ones. This selection process is what separates progress from busyness. Confusion often disguises itself as preparation. People say they are researching, waiting, or getting ready, but underneath that is uncertainty about what they truly want. Clarity demands honesty. It forces you to confront uncomfortable questions about your desires, your limits, and your responsibilities. Many people avoid clarity because once you are clear, you are accountable. You can no longer blame circumstances or people, you must act. When clarity is established, confidence increases. Confidence is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is the calm certainty that comes from knowing why you are doing what you are doing. Even when results are slow, clarity keeps you steady. You stop quitting prematurely because you understand the long-term vision. Confusion makes you emotional. Clarity makes you strategic. Clarity also simplifies execution. Instead of asking, what should I do? You ask, what's the next step? Progress accelerates when the mind is no longer fighting itself. Energy that was once wasted on indecision gets redirected into action. Small, consistent steps begin to compound because they are aligned with a clear destination. The absence of clarity is costly. It wastes time, erodes self-trust, and creates unnecessary stress. Years can pass in confusion without obvious failure, yet without real growth. Clarity, on the other hand, creates momentum. It turns effort into progress and intention into results. Once you know where you are going, confusion has no place to stay. Systems beat motivation because motivation is emotional, unpredictable, and temporary. It rises and falls based on mood, energy, circumstances, and external validation. One good day can make you feel unstoppable, and one bad day can stop you completely. A system, on the other hand, does not care how you feel. It functions whether you are excited or exhausted. It works on good days and bad days alike. That consistency is what produces real results. Most people wait to feel motivated before they act. That's why they stay inconsistent. They confuse feelings with commitment. Motivation is a spark, but systems are the engine. A spark can start a fire, but without structure, the fire dies out. Systems turn intention into routine and routine into results. When your success depends on how you feel, you surrender control to your emotions. When it depends on a system, you take control of your outcomes. A system is simply a set of repeatable actions tied to a desired result. It removes decision fatigue. You no longer wake up asking, should I do this today? The decision has already been made. This is powerful because the human mind gets tired of choosing. Every decision drains energy. Systems conserve that energy by making the right action automatic. What becomes automatic becomes sustainable. Motivation feels productive, but it often leads to burnout. People push hard when they feel inspired, then disappear when inspiration fades. This cycle creates frustration and self-doubt. Systems create balance. They allow steady progress without emotional extremes. You don't need to be intense. You need to be consistent. Small actions done daily outperform big actions done occasionally. Systems also create discipline without force. Discipline is often misunderstood as willpower, but willpower is limited. Systems replace willpower with structure. Instead of relying on self-control, you rely on design. You design your environment, schedule, and habits to support the outcome you want. When the system is well designed, the right action becomes the easiest action. Over time, systems compound. What feels insignificant today becomes powerful tomorrow. Reading 10 pages a day doesn't feel impressive, but over a year it changes how you think. Practicing a skill for 30 minutes a day doesn't feel dramatic, but over time it creates mastery. Motivation wants fast results. Systems are patient, and patience is where mastery is built. The most successful people are not the most motivated, they are the most structured. They don't rise and fall with emotion because their lives are anchored to systems. When motivation disappears, and it will, the system remains. And that is why systems always win. Leverage is the new currency because effort alone no longer determines outcomes. In a world where information moves instantly and technology multiplies reach, the ability to produce results without proportional effort has become the true advantage. Leverage allows one person to create impact that once required many. It is not about working harder. It is about positioning yourself so our work continues to produce value long after the effort is done. Most people are still trapped in a time for money model. They trade hours for income, believing that more hours will eventually lead to more freedom. But time is finite. No matter how hard you work, there are only so many hours in a day. Leverage breaks this limitation. When you build leverage, 1 hour can be repeated, scaled, or multiplied. Skills can be taught, systems can be automated, and value can be delivered to many instead of one. Leverage shows up in many forms. Skills are leveraged when they solve problems at a high level. Communication, leadership, sales, and strategy allow you to influence outcomes far beyond physical effort. Technology is leverage when it allows processes to run without constant supervision. Capital is leverage when money is used to create more money instead of just being spent. People are leverage when teams are aligned toward a shared vision, each multiplying the reach of the whole. The mistake many people make is confusing leverage with laziness. Leverage does not remove work, it changes the nature of work. The work shifts from doing everything yourself to designing systems that work for you. It requires thinking, planning, and patience. It often demands upfront effort with delayed rewards. That delay discourages those who want immediate results, but it rewards those who think long-term. Leverage also changes how you make decisions. You begin to ask, will this scale? And does this continue without me? Instead of chasing short-term gains, you build assets. Assets don't require your presence to produce value. They free your time while increasing your impact. Without leverage, growth is linear. With leverage, growth becomes exponential. Those who fail to build leverage remain trapped in survival mode. They must show up every day just to maintain their position. Those who build leverage gain margin. Margin in time, energy, and choice. And margin is freedom. In this era, leverage determines who stays overwhelmed and who gains control. Leverage is no longer optional. It is the dividing line between stagnation and scalability. Those who understand it will shape the future. Those who ignore it will work endlessly just to keep up. Regret is more expensive than discipline because discipline costs you something now, while regret charges you for years. Discipline asks for structure, consistency, and sacrifice in the present moment. Regret collects interest. It shows up late at night, in quiet moments, and in the realization that you had the chance but didn't take it. Discipline feels uncomfortable today. Regret feels unbearable tomorrow. Most people avoid discipline because it feels restrictive. It demands saying no, setting boundaries, and doing what is necessary instead of what is easy. Regret, on the other hand, feels invisible at first. It doesn't demand anything up front. It waits. It allows comfort, excuses, and delay. But once time passes, regret becomes heavy. You can't negotiate with it. You can't undo it. You can only live with it. Discipline builds options. Regret removes them. Every disciplined choice compounds into strength, confidence, and progress. Every undisciplined choice compounds into limitation. The difference is subtle in the moment, but massive over time. Skipping one day of effort feels harmless. Skipping years of commitment is devastating. Regret is simply the accumulated weight of ignored discipline. Regret is not always loud. Sometimes it whispers through comparison. You see others who started when you hesitated, who stayed consistent when you quit, who chose discomfort when you chose convenience. The pain is not jealousy, it's recognition. Recognition that the gap between where you are and where you could be was created by small daily decisions. That awareness is expensive. Discipline, when practiced consistently, becomes lighter. What once felt difficult becomes normal. Habits replace resistance. Progress replaces doubt. Regret works the opposite way. It grows heavier with time. The longer you carry it, the more it drains your energy and confidence. Discipline builds momentum. Regret builds stagnation. The tragedy of regret is that it often comes with clarity. You finally see what mattered, what should have been prioritized, and what excuses cost you. But clarity without time is painful. Discipline gives you clarity early, when action is still possible. Regret gives you clarity late, when choices are limited. In the end, everyone pays a price. You either pay the price of discipline up front or the price of regret later. One builds your future, the other haunts it. At the end of it all, the year will not judge you, but your results will. Time will move forward whether you act or hesitate, whether you plan or drift. The difference between progress and regret will come down to the choices you make when no one is watching. And discipline is optional. You already know what needs to be done. You don't need more information. You need commitment. Step into the future with intention. Choose direction over distraction, systems over emotion, leverage over exhaustion, discipline over regret. Because one day, you will look back at this moment and realize it was never about the year ahead. It was about who you decided to become. And that decision made now has the power to change everything.